Alright, so I know I had some time to stream today, so I posted a poll in the Discords asking what I should stream about, and the resounding result was a tier list for the meta going into Denver, what I think is good, what I think is going to show up, what I think is bad. So Tam Cardwell had this tier list page already made, which should be all of the characters that are going to be standard legal this weekend. And I'm going to do some sorting. So first, I usually change up these categories a little bit. These are preset by Tam, but instead of just going S tier through F tier, I think it's a little more useful to talk about what is going to show up and what is going to be good, and kind of the cross section of those. So at the top tier here, these are going to be popular and there we go, and good. These are decks that are probably going to be represented in the meta slice. So when they do the breakdown of characters, these characters will get a full wedge to themselves. These are also characters that, if there were a cut to top 16, I would imagine 2 copies or more would make it. With a cut to top 8, which is probably what we're going to have for Denver, it's going to be a little more varied in there. So there's probably going to be more than 8 characters in this tier, but this is what I think is good enough and what I think you should be prepared for to play against. Next up, we have popular and fine. Not popular and bad, but popular and fine. I don't think anyone is showing up with a bad deck in large numbers, but these are decks that you definitely want a couple reps against. You want to know what the game plan is, but ultimately I would be surprised if more than one of these made it into top 16. Then we have niche, but good. So this is kind of like the rogue meta picks that I'm predicting. I don't think many people will register these, but I think they do unique things that are particularly suited to face the expected metagame. Then we have 1 to 2 copies. These are decks that I think will show up, but I don't think will make much of an impact. This is the other branch of the meta breakdown. They usually have 50 to 60% in the other category, which is 1 or 2 people registering them. There's some stuff here that's going to be characters that had small upgrades with the new set, or characters from the set that people will bring because they're fan favorites, even though they might not be particularly well suited to the meta. Needs more Dobby 3. Dobby 3 is going to be in one of these tiers. I'll let you figure out which one. And then down here, I don't think I'm populating this with any... Oh no, I'm doing strategy alts. So we'll get to what this means in a little bit, but it'll make sense. So let's get started. Or I guess, can I add a tier? Add a row below. Yeah. Add a row below. Get out of here. We will probably delete this row when we're done, but these are the characters that aren't going to show up at all. So Mirio, just a bunch of these off the bat. No one's playing these characters. They don't really matter at the moment. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. See more. Perfect. Okay. Godzilla. Godzilla. Popular, but fine. I think there's still a lot of meta memory on this one. Godzilla still does all the things that he did before rotation. He lost a few cards, most notably the Chaos Zero diffs, and then Battle Arena, which let him abuse his once per game board wipe. The Battle Arena loss, I don't think hit him too hard. The zero diffs are kind of hitting everyone across the board. You still have some playable zeros. They're just not going to be as high impact as they used to be. But Godzilla isn't the new hotness. I think a bunch of people who liked the Chaos City Rampage Godzilla are going to move to other things, and I think that a bunch of people who just like to put 3 damage on attacks are going to move to one character in particular that we'll get to. So, actually, I'm going to put this down here. Yeah, because I think not many people will register this, but I think he's still solid. If you showed up with Godzilla, you would still do the Godzilla thing. You could top cut. Go for it. Ghidorah is definitely like in one of these. I think that the Ghidorah plan is still pretty good. I'm not quite as familiar with those deck lists, so I don't know exactly what they lost in rotation, but Death and Void both got some really powerful cards in this new set, so people will be looking at this as the premier control deck. So I think I'm going to put this in popular and fine. People who want to play control are going to show up with Ghidorah and have a good time. I don't think it's going to get through the wall that's going to be up in the popular good tier. Fresh Cut Grass is a Critical Role character who cares about spells, and we just printed a million spells. So someone is going to show up with this character and try to be doing something, which is pretty cool. I hope that they have fun. I hope that they found the sauce for this guy, and I hope that they get on a stream match so they can compliment someone on camera. Annie, I was never a believer in, so I'm going to put that over here. One Punch Deku, popular and good. This is still the premier combo deck of the format. The ability to put together that one giant attack is just as potent now as it was last metagame, but unlike Nationals, we no longer have the board wiping potential of Burt 2. And we don't have the niche sideboard card of Evading Copy, which was one of the best answers to this guy. So you really just get to build a board, be defensive, and send that one attack. As long as you can survive the super aggro decks, you're going to win those games. There's just not a lot of hate pieces for you anymore. So I think this is a great pick going into the event. Alright, we got some more fake characters down here. Sung Jin Woo. I don't remember if Dan is going to the event. I think Disaster Dan said he's not going to Denver. So that's one SJW player who is not going to be there. But people like this guy, and after seeing Dan do well with him in some side events at least, I think there's some sauce there, especially with new weapons on Death that we just got. This guy is actually pretty cool. I don't think he's really broken into the popularity yet, and I don't think he quite has the build where I think he's going to top cut, but he's going to show up. People will play him. It'll be good. Ghidorah losing Dissolving Conflict is huge, though, you say. You're right. That is a big whiff on Ghidorah. Yeah, that was a big part of his defense. I think people are still just going to play past it because they have a bunch of cool cancels on the Void symbol, and I still think this guy's the home for that. Allura, I think, is popular and fine. Allura is, in my opinion, the best of the mage characters, which is the best home for the Gravity Well button collector combo. And also Allura just prints momentum like nobody's business between Manifest and the other action that snaps the momentum. You just get to churn out momentum and then present a kill with like Armor the Wolf or something. I think that people might be overestimating her defensive response that seals an attack. It comes at a pretty steep cost. You have to commit her and commit a foundation to just seal an attack. So it's good. It will come up. It will save her, but it's not enough defense. That said, I think people who want to be playing button collector decks are going to gravitate towards this. People who want to play momentum decks, maybe City Rampage decks, find a new home in Allura. Jester. This is another Critical Role character who cares about spells, who just saw a lot more spells printed. I know Tam Cardwell has been messing with this character quite a bit in the new meta, and I think there's quite a bit of sauce there, but I don't know if everyone's really caught on yet. So I think that Jester gets in the niche but good tier. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Just tutoring any of these spells to your hand now that you have a million more spells to get is a lot of versatility, a lot of toolboxy power stuff. So that's something that, yeah, I think it's a strong game plan. Vash is not really doing it for me. The Death Casino list, we're going to get to have moved on to some other strategies, and Vash doesn't really fall into them anymore. So I'm going to put him down here. Bui is not great. No thank you, no thank you. Toga, I believe, is finally past her prime. Toga 3 was the character that, like, no matter what the format was, you'd always have, like, the smallest pie slice on Toga because people just loved the waifu deck, and the Chaos Weapons was doing really strong stuff. I know she got hit a little bit with rotation. I can't say exactly what she lost outside of the 0 diffs, just like everyone else, but the Deception Dagger Black Abyss package is still good. I just think people are going to finally move on to something else. This tier list gave me the backsides of characters, so I'm just going to shove those in there. Let's see. Wolfwood, same deal as Vash. Bo. Some people really like Bo and what she's offering. I've tried to do some deck building with her, and I think that she just doesn't add up. Her UR being a 2 check and her needing to check a 6 on face on top of discarding a card is just such a high cost to do the thing. I think that she's just a little overtuned and isn't quite going to perform. But some people are still going to register her because they like the character. So it's going to go down here. You might play against one. There's a good chance you'll beat them. This Vex I don't think is as good as Vex 2. This Not I don't think is as good as Not 2, but I'm more ready to be wrong about that one. I don't like Mechagodzilla. I don't like this Mechagodzilla. Anya tier 0. Bert 2 got eroded and is no longer really going to get represented. The nerf hit him so hard, which is typically what happens when you get nerfed, so that's fine. But not only can you not give -2 damage anymore, but you always give +2 damage if you match the card type, so sometimes you just don't even want to press the button to do the looting on your rival's turn, which makes him a lot worse at what he was good at. Beckett Mariner. So this is like a 7-hand version of Vex 2, where you have this like constant unflipping of your stuff, and you get to flip your rival stage as well. I know Satonis talked about this character in his video about top prospects. I can kind of see what he was saying, but I don't think anyone's going to be picking up on it at this time. So we can go down here, go down here. Ooh, Rodan. Rodan is... I think he might be all the way up here. Rodan was having some trouble in the like Nats Worlds metagame because he didn't really have like that finishing power. You really had to rely on the damage output of focused attack to actually close out games, but your better defensive builds of the deck were on the other symbols. But now we have an air-attuned 3 high 6 with powerful 5. So I think Rodan has a much better finishing tool to actually end games and still gets to do all the Rodan things. So I don't know if people are really going to pick up on that buff and really stick with the character, but if they do, he's probably going to make a top cut. Anya was a joke. I'm going to move you down. Okay. Bearded Titan, Card Titan. Caduceus. I really like Caduceus. I don't think he's good enough. I think there's 2 ways to build him. You can either go the combo build, where you try to mill yourself into a bunch of backups and then put some death rattles into play and then reanimate all your backups with his ultra rare, and then they all die to the legend rule, and then you drain your opponent for lethal. But it turns out there's just another character who does that better, who we will get to, and I think as a result, Caduceus is not quite there. The other build I've been looking at for him is trying to get a bunch of copies of Titan in the Woods, which is the just commit to ruin one. You can play on the Earth symbol, which has a lot of ways to flip your rival's foundations, constantly ruining them to keep them low on board presence, and each turn you get to just put more stamina on your Titans of the Woods, which is pretty cool. I don't think it's going to be competitive. It's just going to be like a locals build that I might mess around with. So for now, no one's playing Caduceus. Mothra, you could do the Mothra thing. I don't think it's that great. Harley Quinn is like slightly more of a character than she used to be because the number of keywords per attack in the set got way higher. So her need of having, I think it's like 5 keywords in your card pool, gets turned on in 1 or 2 attacks now, which is cool. But she's a 7 hand, 19 health with no defense, so she's not going to happen. Caleb. Caleb falls into the bow category, where people like this character a lot. He's a fan favorite. He has a very unique set of abilities here. You get this toolbox effect of transmuting spells into spells at the same cost. And then the action cards burning your opponent, even for lethal, is really cool. But I think that anything you're doing with Caleb, you can do with someone else better. So a couple people are going to show up with him just because they like him, but I don't think he's going to convert to top cuts. Beast Titan. This is going to be the first in this strategy alt. And really, where'd he go? Caduceus is kind of in here as well. So this is for characters where it's less about the character and more about the deck that you're doing. So both of these are life symbol, death symbol, cares about backups. Backups got a lot more stuff to do in this set that I think you almost have a real game plan, and you want to be on these 2 symbols in particular to support them. But I think either way, you're going to end up on... I'm just going to pull him up and talk about it now. Where's my boy at? It is very hard to actually find a single character in this list. Yikes. Anyway, Elder Toguro, wherever he is, he's the character that you'll want to be playing the backups deck. Because in the backups deck, you want to be milling yourself quite a bit. So you want to be, here he is. You want to be on the death symbol. And you want to be on the life symbol to have Replicator Enthusiasts, which build in extra copies of Death Rattle. But you need a bunch of puzzle pieces in place to actually combo off with the ultra rare from Caduceus' kit, Grove Keeper's Authority. So you need at least 1 momentum to use the Blitz on it. You need to have milled yourself a bunch, and you need constant access to the attack. And Elder Toguro gets to just say, hey, there's this copy of the card in my discard pile. I will discard a non-foundation card to just play it, which also means all these backups that you're stuffing your deck with, you get to just pitch them each turn to turn them into attacks, including the attack that closes the game. So this deck, I do think, has some legs. You're really just playing a hard control deck with a combo finish, which Elder Toguro has already won an event doing. It's a lot more asking of your deck because you have to stuff like 20 to 24 backups in there, which is not trivial. But I do think that there's some power here if people want to pick it up. And then if you want to play backups but you don't want this deck for some reason, you play these characters. All right. Anyway, not a character, not a character, not a character. I don't think anyone's going to register Bert 1 anymore because his 3-diff rotated Award the Victor, which was what let him do these really consistent lines where he hit you with something, stacked it on top, and formed to draw it again. And we don't stack things on top anymore. So he's gone. Backside of Titans. Erwin Smith is very cool, but not quite there. Ford is like almost in the Bo Caleb category of fan favorite, but not quite good enough. But even Ford, I think people saw how over-tuned his UR was. The card really wants to do stuff, but kind of doesn't do anything. So I don't think anyone's going to show up with Ford. Big Mouth Titan. Again, I think if you want to play the Chaos Momentum stuff, you're just going to play Allura. Hanj Zoe is up here. This deck basically won Worlds and then didn't lose anything in rotation. It's still just a super potent game plan. The 4-check tribal deck, all the damage reduction. Just really consistent access to resources, good defense, good offense. You can just run it back and top cut an event with it. I don't see why not. And here's Grog. This is a bold take. Grog is fine. I think that Grog is going to put up 2 copies in the top 16, but might be the largest slice of the pie, which maybe my math doesn't really work out there. I think that Grog is just the most like face-up strategy that people are bringing. You play Grog, you're a 5-hander, you're reliant on throws. If people remember to bring their throw hate, and if people don't just poke you to feed you rage counters, then you can really get shut out of your character and just be stuck as a 5-hander with DR that's not going to do enough in the late game, and you kind of have an anemic offense if people are ready for you. So, yeah, Grog's going to show up. I don't think he's going to perform as well as the hype goes. All right. I know Marvin, who is in my chat, really likes Jester 2. I'm sorry to my good friend and teammate, Marvin Emery. This character's garbage. Okay, moving on. Keyleth. Someone's going to play Keyleth. Same category as Bo and Caleb. People really like this character. In my last video, where I actually talked about all the preview characters and how good I thought they were, I had Keyleth pretty high rated, and then I actually tried building decks with her once we had the full spoiler, and I don't think she really has anything going for her. She's annoying to play against with the constant flipping of your stuff, but even with the free unflips and the free readying foundations, she's just not putting together enough of an offense or enough of a defense to survive in the big leagues. I don't think people are going to play Erwin Smith anymore. I don't think any of these are real. Kima is one of my favorite characters from the new set, but is not all that great. I think Molly's okay. Molly is basically like if you were a Toga player and you still had all these weapons on the death symbol in particular that you wanted to play, you could play this guy and just stun out your opponent the same way, but also have this sealing their stage aspect and damage pump. But I think he's just a little too... I mean, he's kind of boring on his face with what he's doing. He's keyword locked. I just don't think anyone's really playing with him right now. Alright, Not 2 is going to go up... I think here. Not 2, I'm pretty sure is one of the best pure aggro decks that we have access to. On the chaos symbol, as soon as you get 1 momentum, you're giving all your attacks 2 speed on your 7-hander. That is fine on itself, but if you can get 2 or 3 momentum and all your attacks are getting 3 or 4 speed, that gets scary really, really quickly. Her 1 defensive ability isn't doing that much, but on top of your speed buffs, you get this roughly 50% chance every attack to seal one of your rivals' good defensive foundations. So when you go first, you have a really good offense, and then you kind of explode on defense, which is, that's the aggro plan. I think that it is a viable strategy. It gets around a lot of the natural hate for it because of that sealing mechanic. And yeah, if people want to build this deck, they're going to win a lot of matches with it, and that's pretty cool. Gene. I don't think anyone's going to play Gene, even after Barlow had a showing with him at Worlds. That was a very cool meta pick going into Worlds. I just don't know if it really holds up now. I also have no idea what rotated out of here. I assume it's just more Chaos Zero diffs, but I don't think anyone is excited to be playing him this weekend. All right, Reiner, I'm going to put in one of these 2 categories. Reiner got some buffs since last set just because of the number of playable backups that exist now. There's more of them, so you're a little less embarrassed to put backups in your deck, and the deck that cares about having all these card types. I've seen Reiner decks do pretty cool offensive things, and you have this built-in defense for the other aggro mirrors. So I think he's probably pretty good if you can put in the work and find the right build with him. But you just gotta put in that work, and I don't think a lot of people are going to. Percy, he's going to go up here. We'll talk about that in a bit. Krista is probably just as good as she was previously. There's this narrative going around that like Krista doesn't survive rotation because she loses the Chaos Zero diffs, but the second place Krista deck at Worlds was on order and like doesn't lose anything. So in the same deal with Hanj 2 here, you can just run back the list from Worlds and you're still doing the stuff that you're doing. I don't know if people are gonna be bringing this deck en masse like they did last season, but if they do, she's gonna convert to top cuts, and I wouldn't be surprised if she took down the event. All right, backside. This Sasha, I don't know. I think if you're doing momentum things, you're on one of the other characters at this point. I don't think anyone's playing Pike. I don't think anyone's playing Pumat. Put this guy up here. Yeah, just a lot of characters here that people aren't really excited about. Scanlan, I know one person in the Discord has actually put this deck together and is running their locals with it. Akaleth says, I didn't understand how many characters are in this game. Yeah, this is right after rotation, so this is the least number of characters that are going to be in standard at once. It's pretty crazy. It's like 20 a set-ish plus supplemental products. There's a lot of characters over the 2 years. But, you know, most of them don't do anything. Alright, Scanlan. I don't think that one person who's been messing with him is going to bring him to Denver. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's going to convert. Ooh, Tarion. Tarion is a new character who I think is really, really good. I saw this guy previewed. I said we would have to look at the assets to see if he was good or not. And really, like, he got one asset in the set that's particularly notable, but just having the free builds of the 1-diff assets from Attack on Titan and easy access to vertical maneuvering equipment, and then Badgie out of the Star Trek decks, and sometimes either the Cerritos, the 6-diff asset. You just get to establish a stage that is so full of assets, which essentially act as foundations on defense, because you're trading a 1-diff asset for -1 speed, which makes it, you know, it's like the same as just having a ready foundation when you block, except sometimes you're giving -3 speed. And then on offense, you have these giant Helm Blasts, which are getting really fast because they count the assets in your stage, and really big because they have powerful 5 for some reason. Yeah, I played one match against Tarion and was immediately convinced that he is the real deal. So, pack your asset hate. Unfortunately, I think there's like 2 or 3 cards in the format that really effectively combat the asset production of this guy, because just like one-off destroying an asset doesn't do much because it just gets to build it back in. You have to have something that destroys everything at once, like Decay Awakening, which has its own problems, or Hacker Extraordinaire, which constantly needs momentum. So make sure you have a plan for this guy, because if you don't, you're just going to get rolled. I guess, I don't know if he's that popular, so he might be over here. Alright, I don't think anyone's playing this Reiner, although he's probably fine right now. Putting that there for later. Overhaul. Every time I like hear another content creator make a tier list, they always mention Overhaul as this guy that's like, he definitely has the sauce that he had way back when he was the top character when he came out, but no one's building him right now. I think if someone really put in the time, they could find a winning list with him, especially with the new Earth Attuned stuff we just got. I just don't think anyone is doing it. So I'm going to put it here in case I'm wrong and one person shows up with Overhaul. That would be really cool. But it's probably not going to happen. Unless Andrew Holder's going to Denver, which, if he is, let me know. I'm sure he's playing Overhaul. Alright. A bunch of fake characters again. I think Smiling Titan is still fake. Vex, I really don't think does enough with her abilities. The only ally asset she has access to is Trinket from the dual deck, which is fine, but like the payoffs on this character just aren't good enough. Ochako, I played against 2 Ochako 4s in Nationals, both doing roughly the same thing, just here's a pile of high attacks, and they had the Outwit Foundation that when you reduce their speed, they get to unflip it for +4 speed, and of course Ochako will then flip it and ready it again. So that's a really strong combo. she still has access to it. There are more good high attacks in the set, and a lot more unflip flip stuff on Earth Attuned, which she has access to. I don't know if anyone's going to be bringing her, but she's still very strong. I think Yasha is terrible. I know that there was a Yasha at the Ace Arena event last weekend who was doing some cool stuff. I'm just personally not a believer. Ymir falls over here. So Ymir was the other like big deal at Worlds who actually is losing quite a bit from rotation in new training method, which was one of the more consistent ways she could hit 9 foundations and flip and go off. Losing that tells me that less people will be playing her, but I have seen some builds of her do well. I think she is still just as good, one of the better aggro decks out there. So yeah, if you bring her, if you have the right list, you're going to top cut with her. Just not going to be the same pie slice that she used to be. Okay. From here on out, I think it's mostly fake characters. Hiei gets a really cool interaction with Violent Animus Shot, where when it hits your opponent, they discard a card. So if they block it, you get to tell them to block it again, and they're going to lose 2 cards no matter what, which is cool, but no one's going to do it. Devil Jin, I think, is still doing things. I'm going to put down here. It's like in one of these 2 categories. I'm always not sure about the power level of Devil Jin because I don't think I've ever actually played against one in Standard. I just always hear people talking about, oh, I just lost to a Devil Jin, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what he lost in rotation. Someone's telling me in chat that he's insane right now. So I'll put him up here. Why not? Yeah. Show me the sauce with Devil Jin. I will believe you. I just look at this character and my brain turns upside down in my head. Okay, back to fake stuff. I don't think my teammate Gizmo's in stream, but Paul's not good. I'm sorry. Tendi Fecum. Okay, here we go. It's Mirko. Mirko put on a show last weekend. So let's talk about Death Casino. Previously, the Death Casino decks only cared about being on Death because you just played Combined Firepower on the Death symbol, and you had the 8 cards, or 4 copies of 2 cards that removed when they enter your discard pile to turn on your Combined Firepowers and just get a bunch of free damage. Right now, it seems like the card pushing these over the edge is Science Bros, which is on Air Attunement. That says when you remove cards, your attacks also get +1/+1. So it answers the question of, like, I put a bunch of damage on my attack, but it needs speed. Now we have this foundation that's giving it, +1/+2 speed when we're doing Combined Firepowers. So now we're looking at characters that have both air and death as the casino archetype, which is why I put these 3 characters down here. Vax, Levi, and Percy are all air and death and something else. I think these 4 characters all fall into that category where you get to do the Science Bros Combined Firepower thing, and it's going to be really strong. I can see Mirko being the most consistent with it because she has that added benefit of clearing her card pool and readying herself to just have extra resources available on your kill turns. I lost to a Mirko last weekend in round 1 of the Ace Arena event. I just didn't expect them to do that much damage that quickly, and they did. And then I think Mirko won the event. I know it was in the finals and like 2 of the top 4. So it's on the map. People know about it, and it's proven that it's good. I think that it's going to be something to expect, although people might swap it out for one of these characters instead. All right, fake. Dobby 3. Dobby 3 got this weird upgrade in this set from a foundation that says when your rival fails a check, your next check gets +1, and Dobby has access to that card, plus a bunch of cards that make your rival make checks that they don't care about passing. So some people have been brewing with that. I don't think it's really going to pay off, but it's cool, so it's probably going to show up in one or two. It might get on stream if it wins an early round. But yeah, I'm glad that old characters are getting a little bit of love from the set. All right, back to the nonsense. Mostly nonsense at this point. Ooh, here we go. Sam. I'm going to put him up here. And I'm going to talk about him after I put this up here. This is Nick Reagan. This is what everyone thinks is the most broken card or character in the format right now. He has this weird ability that kind of like fuses two attacks together. So after you play an attack, you use this enhance, you exile or remove your top 8 cards, you get to pick an enhance of an attack removed, and use that as your next enhance on your attack, and also your attack gets +2/+2, which is a lot all at once. Yeah, I've seen like there's basically a stock build out for this now that I keep hearing is the place to be. The reason why I want to talk about Sam is that Sam 2 says enhance once per turn, end the enhance step. So when Nick Reagan plays his attack and removes the top 8 and finds like Warp Gate Portal or True 100%, one of the really powerful enhances that you get to have access to, that are kind of like cheating into play with his ability, you can just say, okay, end this enhanced step, and now I'll deal with this attack, and you have to just keep going with whatever you have in the future. It kind of makes Nick Reagan feel like more of an actual 5-hander. So it's a very like niche counter pick situation, very untested. I don't know if it's actually good or not. It's just something I saw. Also, I believe he's on Void and Air, which means you could play this as a combined firepower plus Science Bros deck, and he cares about the tech keyword, and we just got a bunch of tech attacks printed. So there's something there. I don't know how good it is, but I do think it's like, if you're really worried about Nick Reagan, you should be looking at this character. All right, is there anyone else I want to talk about? I can only think of one off the top of my head. All right, yeah, let's talk about Pony. Pony's great. So the stock Pony list from Nats and Worlds lost some power with rotation because your 0 diffs aren't quite as good, and you are down to 8 copies of the cards that redraw when you discard them. So I've been messing around with a big Pony deck. I've been calling it Horse, which uses combined firepower and a bunch of 5 diffs to be able to do Pony things, but instead of trying to kill your opponent with 8 attacks in one turn, you can do it with like 3 or 4. I think that Pony probably isn't going to be as popular, but I do think she has a similar power level, so I'm going to put her down here in niche but good. Yeah, if I was going to Denver, I would be playing Pony. I fully believe in the character, very much believe in the deck. It's just gonna eat through a lot of the new stuff that's out there. And then talk briefly about Bakugo. People who love Bakugo are gonna look at the new set and see that there's a bunch of new Fury attacks. Most notably, Sweeping Daggers has Fury for some reason, and is a really strong card that steals the text out of one of your rival's attacks, which is pretty cool. Also, if Grog is as popular as it seems like he's going to be, you get to nullify his damage reduction that he has built in with Bakugo. So again, it's kind of a counter pick to one potentially popular character, but you're still going to have all the same 6-hander with no draw power problems that Bakugo has always had, and you still keep gridlocked, and you just lost Stun Grenade and some of his other stuff from pre-rotation. So he definitely has potential. I don't know if anyone's going to actually show up and do well with him. And I want to say, before I just move all these up, I think that is everyone I need to talk about. Oh, no, I see one. Okay. Oh yeah, 2. Mitch. Mitch is going to be less popular than Nick, but I do think is very powerful. Yeah, it's just, he's playing this like very fair game with his response, where he's just committing foundations for -2 speed, negating stun attacks to some extent, and then this whole momentum thing where you get to, after spending momentum, pick it back up at the end of the turn. I think that if you build him right, that is a crazy amount of card advantage. So a lot of potential on this guy, and I think that people are excited to play him. And I assume Mitchell himself will be playing this at the event. So yeah, not going to be a full pie slice like these guys, but if Mitchell top cuts with Mitchell, then no one's going to be surprised about it. All right, and the last character, really, right? Yeah. No, fine. All right, 2 characters. Shota 4 cares about sealed foundations. We just got like a million cards that seal foundations. Someone might play this card. He does get to put a lot of symmetrical stats on attacks pretty early now, which is pretty good. That is what got things like Ojiro 2 errated back in the day. I don't know if it's really enough to hold up in today's game, but someone's going to be exploring him, and that's cool. And then Byakko. I'm putting Byakko in popular but fine. Byakko is very, very good at going into an unknown metagame and just having 38 health and flipping your opponent's entire board and presenting lethal damage. I think that if you know how to play defense, if you're a good player, like, you can beat the Byakkos in your path. But if you're someone who is playing a character that you don't have a lot of reps with, and you run into a Byakko and maybe you're not familiar with that matchup, you're just going to get rolled over by it. I know I've been in that position. It happens to the best of us, and also me. But yeah, Big Cat, I think people know that he's a solid pick going into the format, and I don't think he's going to have a crazy conversion rate, but yeah, I could see 1 copy sneaking in. He's just doing, again, really standard Universus. Oh, Dan tuned in, so that means I have to go find Sungjin Woo. Oh no, I did put him up here. Don't worry, I got you covered here. You only get 1 pet character in the tier list, but it's that one. All right. So now I'm hoping that I can take this tier and remove it. And just put all those characters back. Okay, cool. So this is a relatively clean tier list. All right. So I don't think I really want to care about these when I post this later. So I'm going to put these out of here. I'm going to say that Percy and Vax are going to go... I think Percy's down here and Vax is up here. Of the Science Bro Casino characters, I think Percy might be ultimately too squishy for the game plan, where you're going to be a little too reliant on going first, winning the die roll in a lot of these matchups, and that's going to cause some problems. Vax, I think, is going to be a little more consistent. You're not clearing your card pool like Mirko is, but you do get more straight up damage and everything, and you have a little bit of defense with your passive. If you can combine it with combined firepower, if you can like block an early attack with combined firepower, you're essentially giving everything else -1 speed, which is nice, and you essentially ignore progressive difficulty when you're blocking, which is nice. When building him, I wouldn't fall into the trap of keeping yourself fully locked to weapons. I think that if you play on the death symbol and toss in 2 copies of like Jaw Jammer as a 8 damage throw, you can put late in the string to just be huge all of a sudden with his enhance. That's a good place to be. So yeah, I think he has some power level. So we're gonna put him up here. Yeah, all right. So that means I can take this out, and we have a tier list. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you everyone for joining me as I talk through all of these characters. I will post this in the Discords later so that people can yell at me about it. And I'll export this whole chat into a video and